Yeah.
Well, it's Pride Month.
Yay! Wait, what does that mean?
I don't know.
Does that mean we just started recording?
We've been recording for like 2 minutes now, but like I'm cutting out part of it because
That works.
I was like, I have a plan, and I forgot it because I tried on every single clothing in my closet. I'm terrified by the manic laughter that Tony has now given us.
I just have the two perfect.
But I'd
already.
like to welcome everyone to the Semi-Bookish podcast. After we've been away for like 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness, it's been.
It does feel
It's been quite insane.
Chaotic.
Summer reading has started.
Yeah.
So yay! So anybody who hasn't signed up for summer reading yet should totally come and sign up for summer reading, because if you haven't, where have you been? What do you do during the summer if you don't do summer reading?
So is it true that if you sign your kids up, you get a free vasectomy? Or was that last year?
Am I supposed to keep that in the podcast?
It is a scientific term which you can look up.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we're gonna keep that in the podcast.
I feel like that is a no, by the way, since we are not medically.
We cannot medically give you one of those. We do not have the
Listen,
license. For that.
vasectomies happen.
We can't even
happen
tell
everywhere
you-
all the time. Only a few
We
of them are
legally
done.
can't even tell you how to do your taxes.
Okay.
We also
whatever.
legally can't advise people on whether or not they should perform any kind of surgical or have anything surgically performed upon them. So,
The second we clock out, though, that's when
However, listen.
Sure.
If you'd rather just, have something to do by the time this episode comes out, I think on the 27th of June we have a drop-in superhero day for the kiddos. For Terrific Tuesdays. The 20th, which is the day after this podcast drops, we're doing a Pokemon party.
oh yeah, the Pokemon
So,
party.
that's
gonna be
happening,
cool.
and spaces are very limited, but if you would like to, we also have Intro to Spanish and American Sign Language classes that are going on literally, all for, the next couple months.
And those
So
are adult programs.
those are
two
adult, yes.
specifically.
Those are adult programs, so, if you haven't done that yet, you probably should, because, they're very popular.
There are also Thursday teen programs going on. I've got Bubble Blowout coming. Well, you would have already missed it if you're listening to this episode. But there's Sidewalk Chalk.
Next
Which is coming
Thursday
out.
on the
Yes, that
22nd,
Thursday on the
and then we have canvas painting on the 29th. So,
Yes.
totally come and do these things.
Yes.
Or if you're not from this town in which we live, you should totally contact your library and see what they're doing, because they're probably doing some fun stuff. Now, anyways,
True.
I'd like to know what everyone's reading. Yes, Grant?
I have one question. The Pokemon party.
Yes.
Are Vaporeons allowed, or is that kind of
Oh my god!
is that kind of a no-go now?
See, I feel like there's a deep cut Pokemon question that I don't understand the answer to. All right, but Aaron is shrieking like
I'm just
Pikachu.
making sure I need to.
Grant, what are you reading?
The answer is no.
Okay.
I'll explain it to you later, Tony, because I cannot explain it while we are recording, because I refuse to have that type of lore
Oh.
in our space.
Okay.
Anyways, continue.
So in
Grant,
other words,
what are you reading?
Everybody Google it.
No, don't Google it. Don't Google it. Don't do that.
Spell V. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
All right, yes, Grant, what are you reading?
Listen, books are for nerds. I'm not reading anything at the moment, so
I feel like that's an aggressive statement.
That's a very
You
contradictory statement.
feel really angry about the fact that you're not reading right now, which is why you're.
I feel like
making
that's a
such
very contradictory
Is that a-
statement, too, considering where we work.
it
I
is
mean,
it
you
is
know,
a very
and who we
contradictory
are.
statement.
So really, are you not reading anything at the moment?
I'm in one of those states where I can't commit to anything. So I'm just
yeah.
I have like 5 things from Melcat that I'm reading little bits from.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, like I have a BoJack Horseman art book. With
Oh, yeah,
some like
yeah.
behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I
Yeah.
showed you briefly.
Yeah.
Jeez, what else? I don't know.
Yeah. There's nothing.
It's the days blend together, and it's just a never-ending.
It has been that kind of summer recently, so yeah, I get it.
I've been watching movies though.
Oh, nice. What have you been watching?
I just watched the Orphic trilogy, which is a series of. The first one's silent, and then what's it? John? It's a French guy. Jean Cateau. I don't know how to pronounce it.
I mean,
Anyway,
that was a very nice accent.
Cresson. Does anybody have a croissant?
Ugh.
Have you been watching a little bit too much Jimmy Neutron for that accent?
Yeah, sure. I got too much of that Jimmy Neutron style. Going.
So what is the basic premise behind the what is it trilogy?
The Orphic.
The Orphic
It's,
trilogy.
it takes inspiration from like the story of Orpheus and stuff.
Okay. Oh, nice.
So this guy, he was like a big. He was a poet. He was a filmmaker. He was a playwright.
Mm-hmm.
He was a big force in like the surrealist movement.
Sure.
So he rubbed shoulders with all those guys. And
Yeah.
So each part of the trilogy, the first one's Blood of a Poet. The second one's just called Orpheus. Third one's what is it? It's something of Orpheus. And each one's made in a very different time of his life, and it kind of reflects that. And the last one is when he was dying, and so there's a lot of themes of mortality and stuff. And do I 100% understand what I'm watching, what I'm looking at when I'm watching them? No, but that's kind of the whole thing.
Surrealism, yeah.
Yeah, but definitely lots of strong, memorable images throughout, and like I said, like if you know mythology and stuff, like you can pick these little things and like that form the skull together. But
Yeah, you can see. Okay. Oh, that's kind of cool.
those are probably the most memorable
Nice.
things I've seen recently. So, anyways,
Aaron, what are you reading?
The Alchemy of Moonlight.
Oh, yes.
So reading, I haven't gotten.
Who's that by again?
It's by David Ferraro.
Yeah, and
So basically, for those who just want, I'm just gonna give like a quick summary because I have a summary pulled up.
yeah, nice one.
So basically, it is a gothic romance. So anybody who knows me knows that I'm absolutely obsessed with those, and I would literally like lay down on the street and get run over for gothic romance. So
Sure.
therefore,
it's a very strong statement.
it is a very true statement. But anyways, so it's gothic romance, fantastic genre. I'm so glad that it's making kind of a renaissance lately, like in the past couple years.
There have been quite a lot.
I
yeah.
am so happy. But basically, this is about Emil, who is been kicked out by his aunt because he is gay, and his aunt gave him the ultimatum of you have to either give me an heir or you're disowned. And so he leaves and he runs away, and then he disguises himself as like a servant, and so this is before he can even be like physically disowned. Like he runs away. He's like, no thanks.
Interesting.
I still want my inheritance, so I'm gonna run away. And then so he hides in the house of Count Montoni and his family as a servant until he can come of age and actually claim his.
Oh, that's
Inheritance?
interesting.
And it turns out, and this is the fun supernatural bit of anything that's a gothic literature, is that they have this strange affliction that seems to happen every single time that the moon is a full circle.
Is it lycanthropic in nature?
I don't know. I'm not sure. However, I do like the fact that
Do they hide all the silverware during this time?
they might.
So that no one accidentally.
But he basically finds a corpse outside their house, the house that he's working in.
Okay.
As one does.
And he's like, oh no, what's happening? And so meanwhile, as Emil is trying to figure out the mystery, the Count is trying to stop him from finding out the actual answer to the mystery. And so it's kind of one of those like, who knows? And then there's this really handsome doctor named Bram.
Because of course there is.
And a charismatic nephew named Henry. And I feel like that's like a call out to like Bram Stoker at that point. But yeah.
Probably,
Sure.
yeah.
Anyways, this is actually a retelling of Anne Radcliffe's The Mysteries of Udolpho. And this is a more queer retelling of it, obviously, because Anne Radcliffe.
Set in the same time period, maybe?
I think this is set in the same time period.
Okay.
But I feel like this one's more. No, this one can't be set in the same time period because Anne Radcliffe's like she's like
Pre-Victorian.
pre-Victorian.
That's true.
Ish.
She would have been
And this is more like Regency,
Georgian,
like
maybe? Oh, maybe
yeah,
Regency.
So this is more like Victoria Regency type
So probably
thing.
Regency, yeah.
There's marquise, there's counts, so there's more like aristocracy involved in this.
Well, yeah, that would have been...
Aristocracy. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that
I don't
definitely
know how to
would have...
read words out loud.
That definitely
but
would have been...
It's.
I think Anne Radcliffe was Regency, though.
I think she
Was in that time.
Yeah,
Actually,
she
no,
was.
I think she was pre-Regency. I think she was 17th century, right?
See, now I gotta look up Anne Radcliffe. She was 1764 to 1823.
So 18th century. Okay, I was slightly off, but yeah, that's
she's
that's
basically
pre-Regency,
like
yeah.
one of the pioneers of Gothic literature. Like,
Right.
I know that we all like kind of look at think people like Edgar Allan Poe as like big like Gothic literature romance.
Oh well, I mean, yeah, but that's because he was the
romanticism,
like
type things.
American
But like
set
it's
guy. for
Anne
that.
Radcliffe.
Yeah, she's the
It
OG.
is Anne Radcliffe. Like I don't know what to tell you, but
Which
like
I mean, Poe would have read. He would have read
yes,
Anne Radcliffe. Yeah,
he would have read Anne
Yeah,
Radcliffe.
I would think.
But that's kind of like the story I'm reading right now, and then ironically enough, in probably set in the same time period because I feel like the Alchemies of Moonlight is set in like 18, like maybe 70s, 80s.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Speaking of the 1800s, I'm still playing Hogwarts Legacy, which is set in the 1890s.
Yes. Yes. So deep Victorian.
I'm deep in Victorian right now.
Which would be just before Edwardian. Anyway, sorry.
But right now, my character is running around, and so I think I finished the first act, and I'm not entirely.
How long is this
sure.
game?
There's a lot to do. And by a lot to do, I mean there's a lot of places to explore. The map is open world. So
that's right,
once you finish like the main section of like turning around and being introduced into your classes, and your character for the first part goes to Hogsmeade with another student. After that's unlocked, you
Free
can
game.
literally just leave the campus and go out either direction of Hogwarts, and you can go either north or south. It's a huge map. This is a huge...
How does that work?
Well, it goes up to Hogsmeade, and then it goes up to Upper Hogsfield, and then there's a place down south called Feldcroft, and like a whole bunch of castles underneath down there, and so there's like a whole entire area that you can explore, and yes, you can explore it even if you're underleveled. Because
Well, sure,
I
because
did that.
that's
on
open world.
I accidentally did that the other day because I was trying to look. One of the side quests is you have to look for troll bogies to be able to unlock a spell, and so I was like, oh, I'm gonna go look for troll bogies, and I already modded my game because why don't I mod my game already? And I have companions that will follow me around because this game is single player and it does not have any people that follow you around.
Sure.
However, that was cut content. Originally, you were allowed to have companions, but they cut it out.
Can you mod it so you have Macho Man Randy Savage as a follower?
I would not be surprised if you could. Right now, I have one of the professors following me around, which is
cool.
very hilarious because one of the side quests I did the other day was there was this guy hiding in a Hogsmeade alleyway, and he was upset at a guy who was his business partner because they were going to start a herbology business. So they were going to start a plant business, for those who don't know what that means. And they had put together their business, and then the other guy cut him off due to like differences. They had an argument and they cut each other off. And so now he's mad at the other guy because he won't give him his like money or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he asks you, hey, would you do this for me? And he asks you to go into this guy's cellar underneath his business and steal his prized venomous tentacula, which is like a giant... It's like a giant Venus flytrap.
Yeah.
It's like a giant Venus flytrap, and you have to go down and you have to go around him and go steal it. I had the professor with me, and it was really funny because I turned the camera around, and I have a picture, and I'll show you both later. Turned the camera around, and there's the professor just standing right there staring at me, completely blank-faced.
As you're trying to sneak quietly through.
And this guy's like a Professor Snape-style character. He's the potions master. However, he's also an ex-Auror. So, like, there's, like, a whole, like, thing that goes with it. He walks around with a limp, and it's really fantastic.
Okay.
Honestly, one of the best characters. I love him in this game. But
Okay.
anyways, so he's just like staring at me like, you're gonna go do what? And I'm following you around. So to be nice and be lore friendly, I dismissed him and then grabbed another one of my character's friends and took them along with me.
Nice.
So that way it wouldn't seem like I was like being
Corrupting the teacher.
corrupting the teacher. So I took the Weasley boy with me because it was very entertaining, and he likes to, a la Fred and George, experiment with potions.
Sure.
And his aunt is the deputy headmistress.
Well, didn't we all experiment with potions in college?
Did we?
No.
Did we? Tony, can I ask what you're reading, please?
I'm reading two things right now. Interestingly enough, they both are following my current interests. That doesn't always happen. One is that the one I've just sort of cracked into, so I'm about 50 pages into it, and I'm just reading it slowly. It's called Witch King by Martha Wells, which I've been really excited about this book since I think they announced it a year and a half ago. Martha Wells is also the author of the Murderbot books, which if you've been listening to this podcast or coming to the library in the last year, you've heard me mention the Murderbot books maybe a few hundred times because they're just fantastic and I love them. So this is her return to fantasy, and it's a standalone because our other fantasies have been series, and so I wanted to try something that wasn't my, I'm not a big series reader.
Is that where she kind of started out in fantasy or whatever?
I think her debut was a fantasy one, and I want to say Murderbot is her first original sci-fi project, because I know she did a lot of what do they call that? I want to say licensed work, which she was writing for other properties. Basically, she wrote a Star Wars book. She wrote, so she's dabbled in genre, and her approach to genre in her mind, she's talked about this in interviews, that for her it's all one big pot, and you just sort of pull from the whole thing, and it either ends up sci-fi or it ends up fantasy or it ends up some weird thing of both, and whatever. So doesn't surprise me that she's able to sort of be fluid in between them. But yes, so Witch King is the basic premise is that you follow around this I'm gonna call him an underworld being, because I'm not sure that the being himself is, I don't know if he refers to himself as a demon or he hasn't yet, but there are cultures in the world that do refer to him as a demon, and he has the ability to possess human bodies, or I should say physical bodies. I don't know if it's just human bodies, but physical bodies. And so you're following him. At the beginning of the book, he is in between bodies. And so when he possesses a new body, he has to figure out, well, what happened to the old one? Why is it in this location that is really strange? Did they know they were sealing away a demon, or did the group that just came in that he has to attack, did they know that this was a place where I was sealed up as a demon, and what's going on? So there's some arcane nonsense that he has to follow, and there's a little group of people that he's following, together. They all know this thing. So he's lived a long time and many lives, and so you follow like flashback chapters too of his former lives. So it's still coming together, and it's really enjoyable. It's the world building is rich and wonderful, and the story is it's Martha Wells. It's what she does best. She's great. She's just really good. And then the other book that I'm reading is much more simpler on the surface. It's a space opera romance called Winter's Orbit.
Oh, okay.
By, oh my goodness, what is her name? Everina Maxwell. It's a romance, so this is a basic plot. It's a forced marriage romance. So the Emperor tells Prince Kiem, you gotta get married, because if you don't, you gotta get married, because if you don't, it's gonna break a treaty that is going to break up the empire. No questions asked. I don't really care what you think. You're going to do what I tell you to do. And because the emperor is the emperor and not just his grandmother, he has to do it. So the problem with that is he's not only being forced to marry, he's being forced to marry his dead cousin's husband. So, yeah. Yeah.
Introduce some,
Yeah. So his cousin died in his cousin died in a flybug accident. A flybug is like a spaceship or something like that. Died in the accident, and to preserve the treaty, because the auditors have arrived, he has to get married. Literally the day after the emperor says you have to get married. So she gives him not even 24 hours notice. So he does. But the couple discovers very quickly that, because they meet with the auditors, and the auditors go, yeah, and by the way, you should look into that accident, because we're pretty certain it's not an accident, and that's going to throw everything into chaos. So get that looked at. And so as a newly wedded couple who, it's all political, they're like facing what might possibly be the murder of one of their cousins and the other one's husband of 5 years. So, tiny little meek space drama and, kind of thing.
A few little complications thrown.
Yeah, but it's actually really good. It's much richer in the space opera department than I thought it would be. But it also is following the romantic, the romance arc in a, a natural, satisfying way. And I mean, it's all there. If you know the beats, then you can sense them, but it's not forceful, which I really like. And it's a fairly large book, so I mean, for it to it's really sort of building that space opera universe in the background as well. So it's, I mean, everything's pieced together. It's a really good book at this point. So we'll see if it keeps going.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah,
Please note that. Except for, Grant not reading anything, all of our books are like pretty queer.
I was gonna say we got some
But there's a pretty good theme going on.
pretty gay books going on.
It's almost like there's a theme for this month.
I mean, that's not. I mean, I just tend to read gay people.
Yeah, but it's almost like there's a theme for this month.
I mean,
it's almost like it's Pride Month.
It is Pride Month.
It's almost like, there's books for Pride Month. That's me segueing into the topic today, which is, Pride Month.
Yes.
That was my very horrible.
So, do you have like a statement or a question
no,
or a?
I don't.
No? Oh.
I was going to, and then I turned around, and stuff happened at my house today. So.
Oh no, that's fair.
But
right.
I mean, even with the influx of all the different challenged books going on,
Yeah.
with them being mostly towards people of color and people of the LGBTQ. I want to say umbrella, but I also want to say spectrum at the same time.
I would say Spectrum feels better to me.
Spectrum feels better.
Yeah. Just because.
Although a rainbow umbrella is a fun image.
That's true.
It is a fun image.
You can spin it and stuff.
Yeah, right. yes. You could also call us the people of the flag.
Does anyone have any
But there are
thoughts
so many
about that
flags.
lately, though?
The bands.
Yeah, because, that's been going on.
I think it's the death throes of a dying ideology.
I
like to think that.
I would actually agree with that, particularly since we've been seeing there have been several states, Florida included, who have passed laws that make it illegal to ban books. So, and
Illinois.
the fact that Illinois just passed theirs, I think, yesterday.
Did Florida? Did that happen in Florida?
They did. Yeah, it
kind of backfired on them.
It did. It backfired in a major way. In Florida, yeah. of all the
Florida
states.
did a you can't ban books anymore thing?
Yes.
Is it after the lady who tried to ban the book
I'm not sure what made it jump off. I think there was a lawsuit by PEN America in Florida a couple of weeks ago that PEN America was like, all right, enough is enough. Two can play that game. And because that's literally PEN America's function, is to root out censorship across the world. Well, PEN America is the American version, but PEN Voices, that's the whole point of the organization, is to root out censorship across the world. They've taken on way tougher cases than what we're dealing with. So they're like, all right, we're ready.
Why not?
We're lawyered up. And so they just went into Florida because Florida was the most aggressive of the states, and licked it up in 2 weeks, which is what I love Pen America for. I'm
That's like
all right,
insane considering how long like usual book lawsuits like even take.
Pen Voices kept Salman Rushdie alive, okay, for decades. So this is not really a problem that they have.
I feel like
Did
that's
they
a question
actually
that
like protect him?
Yeah, they were. I mean, they were a big push for the sanction to keep him, to get him to the States and get him under
I'm
protection.
completely out of the
yeah.
loop here at that point. So, you know, I don't
It was
know.
in the 80s.
It was in the 80s?
Yeah, there was. So okay, just the Salman Rushdie thing. Just a real quick history lesson.
Here's the thing. Here's
he
the
wrote-
thing. Please note, I only know that I only know the one book that we have.
Satanic Verses.
No, the one on the shelf.
Victory City.
Yeah, I know absolutely nothing else
Okay, so
about him.
Salman Rushdie was a British writer in the 80s, or is a British. He's still alive. Sorry, he is a British writer of Indian descent.
Okay.
Who wrote a book called Satanic Verses, which I believe is his third novel. It was the first after he won the Booker Prize, so it was a hot commodity because he's a youngish writer who got a Booker Prize, and the book was promptly battled in key sections of the Middle East, including his home country of India. But the militant religious leader of Iraq.
Okay.
It was Iraq?
I think it was Iran.
It was Iran. You're absolutely right. It was the militant religious leader of Iran.
Okay, sure.
The Ayatollah Khamenei.
Sure.
Wow, I can't believe I know that. It's fine. I've watched a few
I
documentaries.
feel way too young for this conversation.
You kind of are. It was in it was in the early 80s. He issued what is known as a fatwa, which is basically an order to last throughout eternity. It cannot be, like, one of the rules of the fatwa is that once issued, it cannot be recanted.
Until it's enacted.
Yeah, until it's enacted, it cannot be recanted.
Did they put out like a hit on it?
It's basically a hit. So anyone of the faith, if you see anyone
If you
involved
see him, is it on
if
site?
you see Salman Rushdie, you are to murder him on site. It doesn't matter what he's doing,
And
because
that's what almost happened last year.
that is what. Yes, exactly.
Wait, it almost happened last year?
He lost an eye over it.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's very sad. He now gets to wear a cool eye patch, and I
It's true.
envy him slightly.
He needs to wear cooler eye patches, but he's still he's still traumatized. He's still going. It honestly, for a while, looked as though he blacked out one of his glasses lenses, and it's like, oh, come on, Salman. But he'll get there. I feel.
Okay.
He's just now starting to write about it, so.
I'm just saying I would go with the eye.
Yeah, totally. Yes. I feel like he's definitely still processing.
No, I'm sure.
But yeah. So that's the Salman Rushdie thing. So
He's an all-around BA.
he is. I mean, agreed. Yes, even though I did read a sort of scathing review of his late work from an up-and-coming Indian writer who was like, "Yeah, his early stuff is better."
Well, what do they know?
I don't know. It was a really thorough and wonderfully thought out piece, which is what I respected it for. But I was like, all this makes me want to do is go out and read a whole bunch of Salman Rushdie,
Exactly,
so that I can argue with the piece effectively. But it's fine. I'll get there. So yes, I feel that we with the book banning conversation, to bring it back around to current
I was about to ask.
American book bans. My feeling is that Grant is right. I feel it is the death throes of a dying ideology, and it's people are loud about something because they feel that if they can't make legislative change in the lives of adults. Because they tried that and it didn't work, then they're going to make legislative changes in the lives of the most vulnerable human population on the planet, which is children. And they are trying really desperately, and it's having an effect. The problem is that it's having an effect.
And I will say, even though I think it is a dying ideology, don't just accept that it's dying. You have to keep.
It's gonna keep.
No, you have to kill it dead.
Yeah.
I mean, you do. I mean, I have no qualms stating that ideologies are up to be killed and should be. I mean, because they're dangerous.
I would just like you to know, I'm waiting for it to load, but Penguin Random House has this ultimate list of LGBTQ books, and I'm waiting for it to load.
Because it's huge.
I
but
guess
that's
taking forever.
honestly, that's the thing that, to me, it's more encouraging. I mean, if we're going to talk about...
I mean, Cosmo has like a 48 long,
Yeah. So if we're going to talk about queer books, I mean, this is something I've been tracking for decade and a half at this point, I think. I remember very clearly a reading life in which I wanted more books to feature, because you read your whole life and you don't think about it, and then someone points it out and you go, wait a minute.
Or then you read fan fiction and you realize there's a lot of subtext that can be inferred from this.
There's a point at which you realize, I think everybody does this at some point in their reading lives, you get to a point where you're like, wait a minute, these all feel the same. Why is that? And then, someone smart goes, well, maybe it's because they're all written by people who look and sound like this. And you're like, nuh-uh. So, of course, I try to prove them wrong. And then you realize, oh, wow, nobody writes gay people into wizard stories. What's up with that? I'm so confused. Why is that? And
which is really hilarious on the juxtaposition, especially when you're talking about that wizard story.
Just any.
Basically,
wizards as a whole are probably the most homosexual of all.
Yes, right, exactly. Exactly. And it's how does that happen? And when you sort of dig deeper into the cultural roots of where books come from, and you begin to realize that, well, if you live in a society that says you can't be who you are, or you'll die, and they do that for decades and decades and decades and decades, well, centuries, but we're not getting there. And then you get to a point where it's becoming more acceptable. I was actually reflecting on this today. I thought, just the cultural change. I'm 34.
Yeah.
When I was 10 years old, Matthew Shepard was murdered. I didn't know about this until a few years after that.
I didn't even know about it. You know that there's a play about it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know about it until Siena did local university. They did it while I was going to school there, and I didn't even know that anything like that existed until then.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about Harvey Milk until the movie came out. I didn't even know he existed. I don't know.
I didn't know that one either. But that's the thing, is that it's gone from something, a high school child is accused. I mean, there's no real evidence whether he was or he wasn't. He was. But the point is that, they didn't kill him because they had confirmation. They killed him because they thought.
Yeah.
And we've gone from that to now, sixth graders saying, yeah, I don't know about this gender thing.
This gender thing is kind of weird.
And not, it's not that they don't care. They still, but they're internalizing safe spaces versus non-safe spaces. Mm-hmm. They know what that means. Nobody has to sit them down and explain it to them. And you can blame the progression of technologies, you can blame the liberal whatever, you can whatever. But the point is that they have an entire dialogue about it at sixth grade. To me, it was the quiet thing sitting in the corner I didn't want to look at 16. Do you know what I mean? Because I was I don't know what that's going to do. That's going to mess things up, and I don't know what else it's going to do. You know what I mean? So that just the cultural shift has created a narrative shift for the books that are available, because now it's the problem that you have with any kind of book, which is wait, there are so many of these.
I can't order all of them.
Yeah, I literally cannot order every single queer book out there.
I want to, but I can't.
But I cannot, because then I won't order anything else. And it's great because they come in many shapes and forms. The two that I'm reading right now. One is a fantasy for adults. One is a space opera romance for adults. And, they're both written by cis women. But still, the point is that they are... The incredible thing is that they take on queerness in this completely different way.
They each do their own version of how
thing. One is a little bit more straightforward because it's a romance story.
Quite literally.
It's just literally all right, these two men have to figure out how to get along with each other. But what's interesting is all of the gender play that goes on in there. Because it's a space opera, there are the different cultures from different planets. The two characters are constantly mixing up people's genders because they're oh, wait, this planet doesn't do the comb thing, so I actually don't know what gender that person is. Or this other person, they are from the culture with the comb thing, which means they're a girl. It's a constant thought process.
You see that with language too, especially how in language there's always the masculine and the feminine, depending on which language you're talking, and then sometimes there's that neutral one in the middle, and you're
mm-hmm.
I don't know which one I'm saying, and I don't know which one means which.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of the same boat, but
mm-hmm.
with you get what I mean.
Yeah, I just love that it's altering the ways that we tell stories, because those assumptions are culturally just gone. You can't just make them anymore without, offending someone or possibly. I mean, you have to really think about it. And I think that's why shouldn't you? I mean, why did we stop in the first place? Don't get me started.
The main thing is if it offends you, just don't read it.
I mean, there's that. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's no issue with, I don't know. The whole thing about...
If I open a fan fiction and I can't read it because I hate the way that it's written, I go away. I get rid of it and I read something else.
Yeah.
Or go the other way. If you don't like something, read it. And maybe
that's actually me most of the time. Like, even if it's written terribly, I'll still read it anyways, just because I like.
Well,
I like to critique it.
I'm saying specifically if something has a viewpoint that you disagree with, maybe read it
sure.
and then maybe try to see where these other people are coming from.
Has anyone had any favorite LGBT themed books lately?
Lately?
Yeah. Also, does anyone know if there's like a gay version of Little Mermaid in book format and where I can read it? Because, your girl wants to read some of those.
It's called The Little Mermaid. It's written.
No, I understand
technically
that.
it was written by a closet bisexual.
I know this. But I'm waiting for somebody to actually write it as it is, and now I have to.
I believe The Girl from the Sea by Molly Knox Ostertag is a graphic novel.
Is it a lesbian Little Mermaid?
I believe so, and I also think that The Mermaid, the Something, and the Sea Witch by Maggie Tokuda Hall, who has been amazing lately, by the way, over her picture book. The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea. That's what it's called. I believe that one is also a queer adjacent read.
See, now I'm gonna have to read all of them, especially because now Little Mermaid's out.
We have both.
I need to know.
We have both of them, and yes, I mean The Little Mermaid should be. I mean there are other. In my view, it has not yet gotten the retelling attention that it should. But
That's what I mean.
But the reason I say that, as someone who has one on the decks, because it's my favorite fairy tale of all time.
Thank you.
It's extremely hard to retell that story. It looks.
Why?
It looks because the original story has so much. He does so much so well in it that if you decide to take an angle, you have to figure out whose angle, one, you're going to take. Because if you take hers, it's like, well, then why do it? It's fine. It's perfectly done. I mean, the only thing you're doing is, I'm going to tell it in a setting I've never told it in before. Okay. Or I'm going to tell it in a, instead of it being a prince, it could be a princess. Well, yeah, but... So, I mean, that's fine, but that's not enough.
What if we just told The Little Mermaid, but from the point of view of Sebastian? Sebastian's just trying to stop the whole time.
The thing is that the Little Mermaid is a tragedy, and I think that's, if you don't understand that, you can't retell it. That element of tragedy has to remain, because if you try and respin it and go, well, what if we make this a romantic piece where it's not a tragedy but it's a romance and they get together in the end, then it's like, add a few songs by Howard Ashman and you have the Disney animated version. It's not good enough.
I don't want the happy ending point. I want the tragedy part.
There are a few, I think, that have taken the viewpoint of the Sea Witch, and I can't remember what those titles are, and they're not queer, but my view of that is no. I mean, to me, again, it's cheesy. Because
I just want one from the point of view of Sebastian because I think it would be hilarious.
Because I feel that the Sea Witch, I mean, there's not enough information in the story to really give the Sea Witch anything. I mean, what? So?
It's almost, I mean...
She doesn't even have a name in the story.
In my opinion, I feel like, doing the Sea Witch point of view is when Disney decided to give 3 movies to Maleficent for her backstory.
But see, the thing is, if you've read The Sleeping Beauty in the Wood, which is the Grimm story, there's something there. There's some energy in those first few paragraphs. Because, listen, okay, look, everybody, including the other fairies, by the way, gets invited to the party.
Yeah.
The king and queen are like, maybe we don't invite her though, because I don't really like her all that much, with no explanation. There's no explanation as why they don't invite her. They're just like, eh. So when she shows up anyway, they're like, oh, we don't have you on the list. She's like, I know, but I want to bless your child anyway, so here goes. You completely understand why she wants to. I mean, you know, we've all been spurned and not invited to the party, right? I mean, I have. Give me magic powers,
Yes,
and it's like,
kind of.
done. I'm totally going to be that person. I mean, you know, she has a little bit more weight to her. The Sea Witch is a tool in the, like, she's a prop in the original.
She's literally just there to propel it forward.
Yeah, and I'm sure that a clever enough writer could sort of pull her to the surface and bring out some things, but I'm so not interested in the Sea Witch at all. I'm interested in the whole, like, enriching the tragedy aspect between those two characters, but I also want to write them as actual queer characters. Instead of as one of the things that I think is really cool about current LGBT or just queer writing, I'm just going to use that as shorthand, is that we don't have to use metaphors anymore to talk about queerness. Or if we do, as I am in my current project, I'm not going to talk about it,
We'll hear about it eventually.
We can do it with actual queer characters, but the characters themselves are not metaphors. It's something else that's a metaphor for, like, the experience of it, as opposed to, you know, the characters themselves can still be, you know, 100% openly queer within their societies, but this other thing that they're dealing with is not just a metaphor for the queerness the way that we experience, but it's also a representation of something else that the characters are experiencing. So you're getting this multi-layered kind of thing that straight writers have been able to do forever, and now we're able to do it with our own characters because we don't have to. We can just say it.
I have so many that I bought on the shelf that I need to actually read. And by bought on the shelf, I mean actually they're in the collection right now, and I need to pull them up.
Such as, are there anything you're looking forward to particularly?
Oh, you're asking me when I don't have the list in front of me.
All right, Grant, say something cool about queer books. I don't know. Trying to figure out what questions might be interesting or motivating.
Oh gosh,
Or, I don't know.
I don't know.
You don't know? I'm just kidding.
That's okay.
I mean, some of my favorite authors are queer.
Yeah.
Clive Barker.
Yeah.
What's his face? William S. Burroughs, Dennis Cooper, Chuck Palahniuk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bret Easton Ellis. And I feel like they all approach that in different ways.
Yeah. And they've all been writing for a long time.
Yeah.
So it's like to me, what's interesting is seeing authors who have been around for a long time who have experienced that transition as artists, you know, that cultural shift. Because I sometimes, and I don't know, you would have probably a better insight on this than I would. I wonder how they're dealing with that shift in, like, current work, because it's almost like you have to shift your artistic paradigm to get anything.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it before when I was reading it, but the newest Bret Easton Ellis book deals head on with that. 'Cause it's very autobiographical, but it doesn't try to be transgressive. He doesn't use that aspect.
Yeah.
He doesn't use that aspect of himself in an attempt to be transgressive. The transgressive elements come from elsewhere in the story.
Right.
And similar, well, Clive Barker isn't the same because it really, it was very much subtext in his horror shorts and stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Until he came out, and then he wrote Sacrament, and then it was very much in the text itself.
Yeah. Right.
Not subtext.
Yeah.
And I know it's been there. I haven't read a whole lot of his more recent stuff, but I hear that.
There it is.
I know that's a lot more surface level.
Yeah.
Nowadays as well.
Sure. Absolutely.
I finally found the two that I was looking for.
What were you looking for?
One of them's Wild Things by Laura Kay.
Yeah.
And essentially it's queer rom-com. Two girls. What they decide to do is they decide to go they live in the city.
Yeah.
and they decide to go from the city life and they decide to go move into the country. And it's kind of like a rom-com about them trying to navigate living in the country. And, you know, you have a couple of your characters who are in love with each other, and then a couple of the other characters are in love with each other, and there's kind of a square for a bit before they finally settle on their designated partners. And then the other one is Your Driver is Waiting by Priya Guns.
Oh, okay.
Essentially, it's kind of... it's a... You know the film Taxi Driver?
Yeah.
It's Taxi Driver, but, like, lady.
Okay.
So basically, it's... The main character's a girl, and she runs a rideshare business that was her father's. And she falls in love with one of the people that she helps in her rideshare. And so it's kind of cute. So, you know,
Interesting.
there's that. And then there's a Martha Shelley biography
Oh.
called We Set the Night on Fire.
Oh. Okay.
We just got it.
Okay.
It's on the shelf now. But it's about her, them, and being an activist before, like, Stonewall and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the gay liberation movement. So I'm like, ooh, that sounds like fun.
that
So I
is
bought that, and that's kind
Actually,
of
really cool.
what I'm going for right now.
Yeah, definitely.
However, if I do keep looking at this one thing, because, you know, I'm looking at the OPAC right now. There's Bianca Torres is Afraid of Everything, which is on yours thing.
Oh,
That looks really good.
That one does actually look really good. I remember.
I
reading
think
the review
the
for that.
cover looks like awesome.
The cover is really cool.
I think I'm gonna actually have to go look at the cover eventually.
Yeah, it's actually really cool.
Angie tried that.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're the other thing. There are some corners missing that I think are getting slowly but surely.
I'm trying to fill them, like, in
No,
our
not. I mean, not
collection
even
too.
just collection wise.
No,
but just
I mean,
in
like,
terms of like.
when they come in, when I see that they're coming in, I
Yeah.
try to at least get something in that area.
Like, there's been a lot of focus and attention on Arrow Ace communities lately
Yes.
in published fiction, which is great. I think the one thing that people will always be too terrified of because of the societies in which we live in, you know, intertony,
Intertony?
is poly communities are constantly being ignored, which is so strange, particularly in
however,
science fiction and fantasy,
that,
because
like,
you're like, you can make up
you see
anything.
that. No, but the fun part is that's in more like traditional, like in like the publishing that we'd see out here. But I've been seeing a lot of the poly rep coming through with, and this is like because I follow Book Talk. We all know I follow Book Talk.
Yeah.
It's through with like the independent people who are publishing by themselves,
Yes,
the
that's
Amazon
true.
publishers and
Yes.
things like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of representation that's coming through with that.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially in then I'm not. I was gonna take a drink at this now. I have to put it down. But new adult, which is now a genre that's coming out now, which I don't understand the new adult genre. Somebody should explain.
Speculative fiction.
It's not a genre. I am way cooler about speculative fiction than I am.
No,
about...
I'd like to understand. So if anybody from Book Talk actually listens to this podcast, somebody please explain to me new adult.
As far as I understand it, the roots. Okay, I can tell you the roots of new adult because I was there.
Tony was there.
Ground Zero.
The roots of new adult came from a group of romance writers who wanted to write YA, and none of them could get it published because the publishers were like, yeah, you got a lot of sex scenes in this. And I know that your kid has gone off to college and that's the storyline, but there's a lot of
So
sex in
you're
here.
talking about
So
like
they
Sarah
went-
J. Maas. We
so
know
they
you're
went-
talking about.
No, this is even before Sarah J. Maas. They went to adult publishers, and the adult publishers were like, yeah, but your characters aren't adult enough for our readers. Nobody wants to read a bunch of 19-year-olds, you know, going to college and college parties and having sex. So they made a compromise and started creating new adult. And every agent for like 6 months was looking for the hot new adult author. After 6 months, all agencies were like, yeah, so new adult is dead. Because no one wants to buy it when we pick up new adult authors who are really good. So we have to tell our authors, pick an age category, and they're not happy about it. But guess what? No one wants these. So there's a whole corner of the internet, usually Twitter people who have now graduated to Book Talk and they have their own channels and things. They're really angry about this. And because now they're at the new adult age and they're like, we want books that are about us. And I'm like, so they they keep flogging this dead horse because they really, really want it, and they really, really want it. But the problem is, none of them buy books. So publishers are like, we're not putting these out because you're not spending the money. You want us to send these to you for your book talk channel, and then no one buys them. So we're not wasting the money. So the category exists as a figment of the imagination on the internet.
So it's like not an actual like genre?
Not anymore.
Okay.
Every once in a while, because the Goodreads librarians. Sorry, I was saying that with quotation marks because I really hate new adult.
Can we have
We'll
have a whole Goodreads episode eventually. How about that?
So yeah, they run online and they will tag things as new adult on Goodreads, but publishers hate that. They've literally tried to kill it 1,000 times. So
what do they use then when they're like?
it's either an adult or a young adult. It's one or
Okay,
the
but
other.
if the main character is in college, like technically,
it's
isn't that an
either-
adult novel?
It depends on it. They're technically young adults.
Yeah, but oh my god.
Yeah, I know. This is every new adult fan.
I want
points that out,
I want to know what you have in your hand before I go off on a rant.
Yes,
so
it's a
we'll
thing.
have a whole new episode about
Yes.
that later.
And I have to be on desk in 8 minutes, so we're just gonna
Me
go.
too.
Okay, so
Brent gets to go to dinner because he's special.
Yay!
Oh no.
one of these is because I was playing it last night, and I was.
Okay, so
And the other one was just because I was like, absolutely. All right, so Aaron, who did you get?
in that corner,
Kirby.
And Grant, who did you get?
Winnie the Pooh.
And Fight.
Well, you see, Kirby.
I don't know how you're gonna win this one. I'm sorry.
I mean, both characters have insatiable hungers.
Yeah, but Kirby's a literal vacuum.
I did not put that together.
Kirby is a literal vacuum.
This is true. However,
And
as I run away,
Winnie the Pooh has left the challenge.
I will say if one of Winnie's friends gets Honey involved, like coats Kirby and Honey. Have you ever seen Men in Black, the original one, where Tommy Lee Jones gets eaten and then blows his way out of
Yes.
blows his way out of the
Have
alien?
you ever
Yes.
watched Kirby with a hammer?
Is it like two guys, one hammer?
So
Then
is
no.
Kirby hammering Winnie the Pooh to death? That seems a bit violent,
So-
given that Winnie the Pooh is a stuffed animal.
So here's also the thing that makes my brain just kind of leave the building. So if one of Winnie the Pooh's friends is currently covering Kirby in honey,
It's probably
Why?
Piglet.
why can't Kirby just eat that one?
Does Kirby perceive Piglet as a threat?
Yes.
Does he?
Yes.
It's Piglet.
Are there
No one perceives Piglet as a threat.
where is this battle
Okay,
occurring? Is
so-
it in the 100-acre
No,
woods?
so
In which
listen,
case,
listen.
There are bees.
And they're both from woodland places. Like
So
they have
here's the thing.
Oh.
I have a little bit more Kirby lore than anyone else in this building
It's okay. I have a lot of Winnie the Pooh
because
lore.
I watched
So,
the anime.
there was an anime.
Yeah,
I'm scared.
There was a Kirby anime on 4Kids when I was a kid on Saturday mornings.
Officially scared.
Kirby does not care if it's a threat or not. Kirby
He
just
just eats things.
yes, I'm not kidding. In the anime, the kids who were the main characters of the show would honestly have to tell Kirby, "You can't eat that."
Oh, I see.
So if Piglet
Spray
is
bottom.
there, it is very much a thing where Kirby might just go, "Oh, what are you doing? Oh, you're rubbing so great. That's kind of threatening," and then eat them for absolutely no
Eat
reason.
Piglet for no reason. Well,
Just saying.
bacon is a delicacy. It's wonderful. I feel like the entire 100-acre wood might get swallowed by Kirby. So, but
Like I said,
however,
Kirby is a literal vacuum.
However, Rabbit comes in clutch because he's Rabbit.
Rabbit was always my favorite character.
Rabbit was always my
No,
favorite character.
but listen,
Yes.
if
And
we get Rabbit
Dive and uses Owl to dive
But
bomb Honey on top of Kirby.
Listen though. If we get Kirby and if we get Rabbit, Piglet, and Owl as little lifelines for Winnie the Pooh, that means I get Meta Knight.
Okay.
I quit.
So,
All right.
listen.
You're fine. You're right. At this point, we're gonna
we
call
can't
it.
do
Yeah, it's,
if I don't also.
I mean, I figured.
I'll give it. I'll give
I'll
it
give
to
it to
Kirby.
Kirby because he is a super powered being
It was
in
a fun
video game.
Yeah, it was a fun matchup though.
It's fair. And Pooh is
I'm
just
saying,
a nice, adorable.
like if y'all get little like
No, that's
lifelines,
true. No.
I also get lifelines, and my lifeline that I call in is both the penguin with the giant hammer and Meta Knight.
King Dedede?
Yes.
Yeah, that's you. Once you call him, yeah, that's
So once I call them in, you're kind of done.
it's kind of over. That's true.
Unless I call in also the one.
Wait, no, I call in adult Christopher Robin.
Yeah, I was gonna say Christopher Robin because he has the power of imagination.
Can I call?
Oh, God.
Can I
You could
call
just-
in the one character from the Crystal Shard 64 that just kind of has the laser eye and just kind of lasers
What's-
everything?
Yeah, you know, I was just playing that last night, and you know which character I was really angry at because I couldn't beat that boss fight? The shark.
I hated the shark.
The shark. And you know when
The shark is the worst one.
Do you know when I finally beat the shark? Literally on life 0 with one little bubble left.
Everyone hates the shark.
What game is this?
Kirby and the Crystal Shark. It's the Nintendo 64.